Hey everybody, how's it going today? Welcome to Ellensburg, Washington, USA, on a cool, windy Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. The local time is, 12:45, I guess, 12:45 p.m. And about 15 minutes from now, at 1 o'clock local time, top of the hour, we will be talking about the Chumstick Formation, Part 1. And that means Part 2 for the Chumstick Formation is coming on Thursday. So let me grab my mug, say hi to a few folks, and then I have a very special product for you to see. Emma is intrigued. She'll have to remain intrigued for a little while. We have Emma and we have Matthew in the room quietly studying, getting ready for today's session or something else. Hello, Red Lester and Jonathan and Carol and Steve in Milwaukee, Oregon, and Marion, Virginia. That's Eric. And Geneva, Waterloo, Canada. Hello, Jonathan. Joni. Anders is in Arup, Denmark. Peter's in Alberta. Phil in Mankeno, Minnesota. Patrick, hello Patrick, age 7. John's in Edmonds, Washington. Summerlin, Nevada. I got to skip down because I'm losing things off the top of the screen too quickly for my own brain. Dante's in Friday Harbor, Washington. Jan, Vancouver, Washington. Gordon's in Glasgow, Scotland. Burns Lake, British Columbia. Michael's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Forest Grove, Oregon. Maltby says hey. Hermosa Beach, California. Hi, Michael. Sharon's in Northern California, Bay Area. Minnesota, Southern Colorado, North Dakota, Cleveland, Ohio, Vancouver, Washington, Dorset, UK, Spokane, John Stockton's house. Mark's in Salt Lake City, Utah. Nina in San Diego, California. Michael and Nee and others in Trim, Ireland. Hello. Stephen from Zeeland, Holland. Looks like we're doing just fine, huh? We're communicating just fine. Guys in Santa Cruz, California. Olaf in Bern, Switzerland. What up, homie? Manchester, UK, Nampa, Idaho, Boston area, Interstate 94, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Carlsbad, New Mexico, Phil's in Ephrata, Washington. We got some local yokels here, and we got some folks who are far, far away, but we are all here together in this magical internet world. Okay. Taylor's in Bing Crosby's neighbor's house. I know exactly where that is. So no thank yous today. Well, I guess there's a thank you. So let me show you this exciting new product that is available for free, apparently. So let me show you first of all. We got Ashley, we got Hayden. Bryce is here too. Mary's here. Bryce is under attack. He just stepped into the room. These keep coming, man. These keep coming. So these posters can be yours for free. And I want to give you just a little bit of backstory on this. That might be all of them. I don't know. I might have missed a couple. But The thank you is to Daniel Coe and Trevor Contreras at the Washington Geological Survey, also known as Washington Department of Natural Resources. And those guys let me know that a project that they've been working on for a long time, among many others at the Washington Geological Survey, they let me know that this project called Washington 100 went live last week. And I was very excited to see what they had put together. And it's basically the 100 most exciting geological sites in Washington or something like that. I probably screwed that up. But they sent those posters to me, and they wanted to make sure that you knew about it. And I want to make sure you know about it. And specifically, I want you to know about a guy named Daniel Coe, who I'm a big fan of Daniel's. He's an artist, a visual artist, a graphic design person, a geography person. And whatever he puts his stamp on just pops off the page. So before I read just a little bit of Daniel's email to you, let me show you, first of all, which website you can go to see all of this fine work, this Washington 100. So is this going to work? So this is the map tube that they sent the maps in. So WA, the number 100.dnr.wa.gov. And I think I just reread Dan's email properly, that if you want to get some of those posters, there's even some little stickers as well. Washington 100. If you email WA100@dnr.wa.gov, that's an email address. I hope I'm right about this. I think you just email these guys and say, hey, can I have some of those posters? And they go for it. Oh my God, Andrew's here. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, grab a book. Good. Make sure I get your basalt back to you too. Okay, good. So that's the story. And I want Daniel Coe has, you've probably run into his stuff before. He's got this strong visual sense. And so I wanted to hear Dan in his own words on how he kind of came up with this visual sense here. And I asked him to be bold and not just say it was a team effort, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I want your side of it. So he took the time to write this and gave me all the backstory on the project. Let me just give you a little bit because this whole Washington 100 idea originally came from Dave Norman, who used to run the Washington DNR. He's since retired. And Dan, these are Dan's words now, we realized pretty quickly that we would need to make a website from scratch since the DNR site would not support the kind of project that we had in mind. We wanted it to be eye-catching and immediately engaging to potential users, and it is that. I mean, when you go to this site, you will enjoy it. I don't know, maybe you won't be able to control yourself. Maybe you'll go right now during our lecture. I won't yell at you. It quickly expanded to 100 different sites, and we plowed ahead with that plan. This is Dan talking. My personal focus was on the visuals of the site. I wanted to use some of the elements of the Work Projects Administration, the WPA, National Park posters as inspiration for the artwork. And now that he mentions that, I think you can maybe see what he's talking about. So he's kind of using the WPA old posters as an inspiration for his artwork, and since they were very bold and recognizable, I developed the color schemes and designs for each of the 7 provinces that we used for the digital art and posters. We carried the colors and designs over into other page elements like province site maps and figures. Over the course of the project, there was a core group of 6 of us. Our computer developer, Ian Hubert, who's a former student of mine here at Central, took over the collective ideas, created the code, and brought the website to life. So in short, this is Dan. I mainly designed the visual stuff, art, maps, site icons, took the photos, made figures, etc. And it is excellent. In the back of each of these posters, oh, we got a lot of energy in the room. So the back of each poster has key spots, and so when you go to the website, you'll click on each of these spots and visit many of these places that are familiar to you if you've been with our all these live streams. Just a few of them related to our time window in this class, but Washington 100. One more time. To see the website, you go there, and to send them an email to get your own free stuff. Apparently it's all printed and ready to be shipped out. That's the red thing.
Are those posters made for free?
Rachel, yes. Not for you to grab right now, sorry, but yeah, got it. Okay. All right, I got to get my wits about me here. Major product placement here, but I thought it was worth the endorsement for sure. Oh my God, we got people chit-chatting like crazy. We got 6 new handouts. 6 new handouts. Please grab them. 6 new handouts. We're going to start in just a couple minutes. Good to see you all. Let me get that basalt for you now, Andrew.
Okay. Still got it.
Still got it.
Okay.
Thanks for the loan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tapping.
You're taking mine.
Am I?
These handouts are in the
Oh,
back.
come on, Nick. Give me the good stuff.
These are mine, but you can take a little peek if you like.
Oh, where did you get them?
You'll have to watch the replay. You'll have to watch the replay. Rachel's interested. Hayden, Ryan, Rhiannon, Kyle, Bryce, Emma. Oh my God, it's a party. It's a party. Logan's here. The princess. Luke. God, we got almost everybody. Mary, Rylin. I guess it's the cool air. Everybody's productive today. Cool air. That energizes me. Let's say hi to a couple more. Oh, no, I'm going to go say hi to folks. Okay, thanks for. No, I'm going to concentrate on what I'm doing. Thank you for joining us. Concentrate, boy. Concentrate, boy. That. What? What? Did I write the address down wrong? In fine print
No,
there.
It's
Gee, criminy.
okay. That was my mistake. Put it down.
Oh, boop.
Delivery.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Oh, did you get to it?
Yeah. So you have a dot between.
Now you guys are going to be all distracted today, Colton. I'm going to keep an eye on you.
Oh, there's
I'm
a ton of them.
minimizing
Holy
mine.
crap.
You're minimizing. How about removing?
Oh, they have the willpower one. That's cool.
Yeah, we have our PDFs.
Ah.
I ran out of my paper printing
Money.
abilities.
Or are you out of WIPA money?
Yeah, I'm out of the week.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Luke, good man.
Good.
Look right there on that one there. We got your jog on your spreading ridge right there, baby, just like you did on Thursday. Nice job. I'm feeling good. Feeling good. I love the energy in the room. We got everybody. Did I talk about energy too much, Bryce? Is that on me? Talk about energy too much? Should I say karma instead? I don't know what the lingo is. I don't know what karma is. Aura? Don't stare me down, Bryce. Oh, Tim's even here. Okay. All right, circle in the room. 6 handouts, 6 handouts. We're starting in 1 minute. Grab all the handouts. It's a feast. It's a party. Oh, Ryan's in a different spot. Different spot. I think there's 6. One's a retread.
I didn't see that comment about the Mr. Hollywood or whatever. I went back through
What video is that? I haven't watched
on
it
the
yet.
Ingles video.
Okay, well, you can sit in my lap in my office, and I'll hold your hand on my mouse, and we can kind of go all. Wait a minute. Let me retract that. That's bad karma, right? What? I don't know. What I meant to say is I can help you cut your steak into little pieces, and we can find that comment together. Mr. Hollywood, you were going too fast. Okay. Boys and girls, Geology 351 is in session. Oh boy, I'm loving the energy today. I'm loving it big time. Just an infusion of all sorts of energy from you. So thank you for that. I'm excited. It is Chumstick Formation Week. Yes, I'm going to break it into 2 sessions. Yes, I'm going to hold off on the magmas till next week. If you're a magma fan like Rachel, you're crushed at the moment. But I love this Arcosic sandstone stuff. I love this strike slip fault stuff way more than I thought that I would. So I'm having a grand old time. And my goal today and Thursday is to help you see why there's good stuff coming from these papers. Now you're on stage. You're on stage. There's an asterisk here. So I asked you with that email to have yourself ready for Aaron Donaghy's brand new paper. And so we'll have a lightning round halfway through, maybe, something like that. But before I begin, and this is me, the first 2 steps, looks like, well, what? We already talked about this stuff. What are you doing? You doing this stuff again? I've been thinking a lot, and I've got some new takes on how to present this stuff, the first 2 items here. So we'll see if that works. Before we get into all that, let's just do logistical stuff. I will not see you tomorrow. It's not a field day tomorrow. I'll see you on Thursday, right? That's our other Chumstick Formation session this week. Friday, I'm not sure exactly where we're going. We're going to look at the Chumstick. It would be dumb to have 2 full sessions on the Chumstick and not go to the Chumstick. We've already been there with the Peshastin Pinnacles, but I need to find another spot. I got a good couple of tips, so I need to go scout that out tomorrow. So I'll send you an email later in the week about where we are going, where we are hiking on Friday, but that's the plan. And also Friday, Hayden, check your email. Friday is our last homework. I sent that to you, what, Sunday night? Earlier, last Thursday I did, yeah. So you've already had that email talking about homework number 3. I've gotten it from 2 of you so far. Get that off your plate. Do that homework number 3. You didn't get it again?
One of the 2 people that turned it in, she stared me down.
Everybody, Megan turned in her homework number 3. There it is. Golf clap for you. But you weren't the first. Ashley, always first with homeworks, always first. Ashley, overachiever, Geology Club president. Okay. Any more applause for anything? 41st anniversary of Mount St. Helens eruption today. Any other applause for tragic natural disasters? Nick wore a green shirt today. I don't understand, Hayden. I don't understand. Okay. Are you ready? Whether you're ready or not, we're beginning. And again, you're getting your mind ready, part of your mind, for this. I'm coming to you hot in just a bit. But I don't want to go straight away to the Chumstick. I don't want to go right into that sandbox. It's a whole nother sandbox. We already had the SWAC. Let's go to it. We've already talked about sandstone. We've already talked about a sedimentary basin. We've already talked about crossbeds. We've talked about tuffs. We've talked about regional stories that you can tell from a sedimentary basin. That was the SWAC and the Chuckanut on the west side. We're not doing all that again. isn't this Chumstick just more of the same? And at first glance, it is. At first glance, it is just more sand. And in fact, even in the literature until recently, it was viewed as just a bunch more sand, and that this Tianhui event was just simply a disruption. But we now know, because of this paper that we all read by Aaron Donaghy, that it's not just more of the same. There is a coherent, younger, regionally important story that we can pull from the Chumstick Basin. And so my plan is not to go right to this, because I want to care about the Chumstick. That's basically me saying things out loud, kind of muttering to myself on a field trip. Somebody's talking about all sorts of details at an outcrop, and I want to say, just help me, just why should I care about what you're talking about? I don't understand. You're down at this granular level. I want a reason to care about what you're talking about. And quite often, it's very difficult for me to see how the details can plug into something bigger. In this case, with this paper by Erin and her work under her supervisor, Mike Eddy, they lay it out beautifully. And so I want to start today, energy's great, I want to start today by picking up where we left off on Thursday. Seems like a long time ago. It was, more than 5 days ago, I guess. We had a big moment when we quit on Thursday. Mike Eddy looking for field evidence to prove that there was a southward migration of the triple junction. Remember it? There's 6 handouts today, and one of them has something a little bit more specific that I want to hammer pretty hard with you. You haven't seen this one yet, but the concept is quite similar. So this thing is where we start. And you're like, I've already seen this like 2 different times, I think. Well, he's got some detail on this one. I think this is actually 2015 now that I think about it. He's got some detail that's important, so keep an eye on this. But before I do a little bit on the board, let me hit verbally what I think is the reason we care about the Chumstick details. Here it is. We know there's a triple junction in the area during this time window. You've heard it a million times already. You've already heard that Mike is against the grain. Mike is, and nobody else. Mike is alone on a southward migration of the intersection of this submarine spreading ridge in the edge of North America. He's alone by saying it was a southward migration on that handout you're looking at right now versus everybody else saying it's a northward migration. And you're like, I don't care, man. Here's why you should care. We're starting with magmas next week. And we need to know where that spreading ridge is at specific times. Because when we go back to the near trench magmas, what are we doing? Near trench magmas are where we have a subducting spreading ridge. And we can get good dates on those near trench magmas, or break-off belt magmas, or bimodal volcanics. Yeah, I'm talking about the Tianhui and the Wenatchee Dome and everything else. So this regional big story where we zoom way out and look at the Pacific Northwest tectonics is where I'm starting today, and I want us to keep that in mind, that we'll constantly zoom back out and go to that triple junction story, even over the next 2 weeks when we're talking about magmas. But we're not talking about magmas this week. Oh my God, I want to kiss you all. This is, please don't. Thank you for the energy. Karma. I don't know what karma is. So we ended last time, and most of you left the room, and a couple of you stuck around, and you had very interesting questions to help me see a couple of things, and I've been stewing on that all weekend. I didn't erase this. This is exactly from our story last time. What are these dates? The dates of the Straight Creek Fault. The Straight Creek Fault, this guy here, the north-south guy that does not have a northwest trend to it, was active between 50 and 35. On your outline, we're about to go and talk about how we know it started 50 and how we know what the field evidence for is it quitting at 35. That's coming, but before we do that, I just kind of casually put this thing on without really knowing what I was talking about. I knew it was in the area a little bit. And I knew that this spreading ridge had to be south of these guys. Remember, that was the main point. That was a thrilling moment for me, and I could feel it in real time with you as we quit last time. That Mike says, look, I need this Kula plate offshore to get all this right lateral offset on these strike slip faults, including, last topic, the Leavenworth Fault. He says, I need this spreading ridge to the south of that. Well, by studying this diagram that you have in front of you and studying a couple of other things very, very carefully, I'm not going to show it to you with the camera. You've got it. This one right here. Let me try to clean it up a little for you and hit one major point. And I hope I will stick with this. There's a chance I'll decide it's not the best way to do it. But for now, I think I want to stick with it. Let me put Vancouver Island in here. Now, does this submarine spreading center, this divergent plate boundary, have a bunch of jogs to it? Is it offset by transform faults like it is on your map? Probably, but that's too complicated for what I want to do here, okay? So I'm just going to make it a nice simple line. 55 million years ago, Mike has the spreading ridge subducting beneath North America. I'll put an X at the triple junction. So spreading ridge, we know this, right? And the triple junction is up at Vancouver Island. It's not in Washington, 55 million years ago. You're like, this sounds familiar. It is, kind of, but I'm being a little bit more precise now with specific years and specific spots where the triple junction exists. On your handout, you have a range of dates. Just as a teaching choice, I'm picking 55. Just trying to make it as simple as I can. You with me? I think you all are. By 50, southward migration, right? By 50, we're going to put that near trench. By 50, we're going to put our triple junction at the Strait of Juan de Fuca. So it's drifted from, I don't know, the middle of Vancouver Island, 55, to the triple junction, the X, where the spreading ridge is subducting beneath North America at the Strait of Juan de Fuca, right at the international line. That's 50. Again, we've been casual to this point. I think Mike has the data to make it a little bit more careful. Last one I want to do. By 45 million years ago, it's at the mouth of the Columbia. Shit. Sorry, Patrick. I already don't like it. Because I just thought of some very specific dates we have in the Leavenworth Fault. Okay, so this is a work in progress. I don't know, put question marks here. I don't know, we'll keep working on this. I want to keep working with you to try to figure this out. I had this idea this morning. I thought it worked until right now. You'll see what I mean in just a second. But what I do still like is we have a southward migration of the triple junction. We're good there. Okay? Move on. I don't think that was unfortunate, but it was kind of unfortunate. Okay. All right. I did some emailing back and forth with Aaron over the weekend and even this morning, and I had some specific questions about the age windows on each of these faults. I thought maybe she'd have the details that I wanted, but they don't. They don't. So I thought maybe I could get to the point where I know that the Straight Creek Fault is younger than all the rest of these guys because it offsets all the rest of these guys. But it's not as clear as that. So we can't really say that necessarily. We're still generally okay by saying all this activity starts 50 and all this activity ends 35. But as we're about to see, the Leavenworth Fault does not go for 15 million years. It goes for 5 million years. And that's what I just caught myself in here. Okay, so we're down to that level of precision. Let's take the next step in the outline. Let's keep this and let's erase parts of it. How do we know, how do we know that the Straight Creek Fault started 50 million years ago? Well, one way to answer that is that it offsets the Sedimentation Formation, right? I found this from our Geology 101 discussions. So some of you were in my Geology 101 just last quarter. I guess, no, well, Bryce sat in. So I found this from our discussion in 101, and I don't want to go nuts with this, but we do have offset stuff, some of which is familiar to you. What am I showing here? I'm showing Mount Stewart batholith, the Stewart granite, and then I'm showing the Spuzzum granite offset about 150 kilometers to the north in Canada. I called it Scuzzy or Spuzzy. Neither were correct. Spuzzum is the actual name. There's something called the Chilliwack schist nearby of the Stewart granite. There's a schist up in British Columbia I forgot about till I found this thing yesterday called the settler schist. The settler schist. Same idea. It's offset by 150 kilometers by the Straight Creek Fault. I haven't answered my question yet. What's my question? How do we know the Straight Creek Fault didn't show up until 50 million years ago? And how do we know it hasn't made an earthquake since 35? Let me do the 50. Maybe some of you know the answer to the 35. The answer to the 50 is that we have, this is the main point from last week, Sedimentation Formation, Chuckanut Formation, same stuff. It's on the other chalkboard. We don't need to go to it, do we? Sedimentation and Chuckanut, same stuff. Well, does this work for your brain? We got to make the sedimentation before we break it. That's the evidence. How do we know the Straight Creek Fault didn't start until roughly 50 million years ago? One way to answer that is we need to make the sandbox, which goes from essentially 60 to 50. We need to make the Sedimentation Basin before we start cracking it and sending half of it north 150 kilometers. There's other ways to get that 50, but that's the way I'm choosing to give us field evidence for the initiation of the Sedimentation Formation. Of course, we know this all ties to the accretion of Celestia, but just more bedrock type as far as what's been offset. The Sedimentation has been offset by 150 kilometers. We call it the Chuckanut on the other side, and we have to make those sedimentary units before we start breaking it in half. First time for you to speak. Does anybody happen to know why or what field evidence we have for the demise or the death of the Straight Creek Fault 35 million years ago? May want to try if you're not sure. It's not coming from the sedimentary material. I thought maybe somebody would have it. You want to try, Andrew?
Is that plutons intruding it?
Yes, there is. Andrew says, are there plutons intruding it? I guess if you had really great eyes and I showed this very quickly, you noticed. I don't know if you grabbed that or not, Andrew. So there's this egg in the middle called the Chilliwack batholith, the Chilliwack granite. It's a well-known granite. It's a huge blob of plutonic igneous rock. You know the word batholith. It's a volume thing. There's a lot of granite in one place, and it's called the Chilliwack. Let me give you a better cartoonish map from Ralph Hegerud's classic North Cascades book more than a decade ago. So here's a map of the Straight Creek Fault heading north as it should. It becomes the Fraser Fault up in British Columbia. But then here's this incredible blob of magma that interrupts the Straight Creek Fault. Andrew's right on the mark. The date for the Chilliwack batholith is 35 million years old. And look, the Chilliwack batholith has not been broken, has not been offset. That's the whole concept. if this thing squirted up from below, and it did, and it plugged this area, or as Mike Eddy calls it, sealed by intrusions, I like that. The Straight Creek Fault was sealed by intrusions of the Chilliwack batholith 35 million years ago. And there hasn't been a cracking and offsetting of the Chilliwack batholith in the last 35 million years, so therefore, we know the Straight Creek Fault hasn't done anything in 35 million years. Makes sense to you? Tim? It could have stopped prior to that, Tim says. And thank you, Tim. So Tim says, I guess maybe the Straight Creek could have stopped 40 million years ago, 41 million years ago. Correct. But we know for sure in the last 35, it hasn't been shifted. Kyle?
You mentioned last week, I actually got it in my notes on Thursday.
Uh-oh.
That you said, why did the Straight Creek Fault stop making earthquake 35 million years ago?
Yeah.
Because the Kula plate isn't offshore.
That's where we're going. Yes. You're a couple steps ahead of me, Kyle. I'm not even going to repeat what you said because that's definitely what I said last week, and we're coming back to that. I'm leading towards that, actually. Thank you for that. I can't help it. Kyle's reminding us that I was talking about the Kula plate and a change in the ocean plates at 35 million years ago, but that's coming. So, oh God, I'm not a prop guy. I swear I'm not a prop guy. How many props have I had this quarter? I have? What? What did I use? I used a coin purse. I used wooden blocks. Is that a prop?
A flashlight.
A flashlight, okay. I used my vessel as a prop? Yes, okay, great. Karma. All right. So I had this thought twice. So this is a red caulking gun. I'm not going to squirt it. I hope I won't squirt it all over the room. But we're going to seal the Straight Creek Fault from below with granite, right? With magma from below. We're going to shoot it to the surface. And by the way, this is 35 million years ago. We got the Cascades now. This is a ghost volcano. Do you know that concept? The Cascades started 40 million years ago. There used to be a Mount Rainier, maybe a whole bunch of Mount Rainier-like stratovolcanoes standing on top of this Straight Creek Fault. Yes, on top of the Chilliwack batholith. But the point is, we're going to shoot this Straight Creek Fault. We're going to seal it with intrusions. We're going to caulk it shut. And the thing's not going to be offset in 35 million years. Red, hot magma, whatever. But I brought in another caulking gun because that's how I roll. I bring in 2 caulking guns in my backpack as I pedal across campus. We're going to use it in just a second. Questions on the Straight Creek Fault? Oh no, there's one more thing I want to do and I erased it. Damn, okay. This is going to set us up for next week primarily, but I think I want to do it now. Oh boy. Try it again. 55, even though I don't like it. 50. In general, I like it. I'm just still hung up on exactly the position 50, but anyway. If we look carefully, today, Thursday, and the next 2 weeks, in our area here in north central Washington, I want to just plant this idea in your brain. Oh boy. Transpression. Tension. Transpression. This is more loose than I wanted today, but what else is new? It's Tuesday. I guess this is the pattern. I'm all over the place on a Tuesday, and then I clean up the results on Thursday and try to make sense of what's going on. Okay, we're coming to you in a second, I promise. So this is, I don't think this is going to make much sense, but I think the time is right to get this down first. Between 55 and 50 million years ago, we have all sorts of structural geology, folds and faults, telling us of generally a compressional regime. We're combining two words here, obviously. Transform, which is like strike-slip activity, combined with compression. That's slang for transform and compression at the same time. Isn't that cute? Transpression. Colored chalk. Tim's got a thumbs up. He likes it. I'm also planting a seed. Remember, cool on the north side of the spreading ridge, Farallon on the south side. And we're going to tie transpressional geology in central Washington of a certain age with the Farallon plate subducting almost head-on along our coast. But then between 50 and 42, under the heading of why should I care about the Chumstick Formation? We're here. Why should I give a damn about the Chumstick Formation? I'm stealing your thunder now, just a bit. The Chumstick Basin is a trans-tensional story. Not transpression, trans-tension. Tension, extension, open. You're all nodding your heads now. You read about it with Aaron. Again, I'm gonna be well behaved. I'm not going to go any farther. That's your contributions, but I'm setting you up right now. Trans, meaning we've got strike-slip action and crustal extension, a pull-apart base. I can't stop. I can't stop. 50 to 42. And then we go right back to transpression again. So who's with me? What pink letter am I going to put here? K, thank you. Oh, wow. And I'm going to go back to F. I don't expect it to totally work for your brain. I'm not sure it works for mine. But we do want this migrating to the south, and then I think some of you see it. We're going to migrate back to the north as we get younger. And it's just a game of who do we have offshore. We're finally back to our last moment of last time. Matthew wants to speak. Hang on. So you remember the main thing we left with on Thursday, and then I promise I'm done. Is our west coast of Washington dominated by the Farallon plate? If it is, we're being compressed generally. Is the west coast of Washington being dominated by the Kula plate? Oh, it is? What's that? It is? Then we're under extensional. And we'll see all sorts of things happening because of the extension, which is short-lived. It's extensional because the Kula is offshore. And then we lose it. We go back to compressional, and by the way, that's the beginning of the Cascades. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to change ocean plates on our shore? You're going to migrate a triple junction south, and then you're going to send it back north again. You're starting to see it now? Maybe you saw it already. This is my last statement for sure, and then somebody pull the plug on me. Or kick me in the face or something. This is a Cascade story here. This, of course, is a Celestia accretion story, or Celestia offshore and then accretion story. This window right here, 50 to 42, Chumstick Basin time, is this freak show time window. Post-Celestia story, pre-Cascade story. I love that. I never totally had that until this weekend. I'm going to say it one more time. We know that Celestia is a huge story with Washington geologic history. More and more, we're realizing that. And that's a pre-50 million year old story, right? Celestia, pre-50. Build the thing, add it. Cascades, pretty important, starts 40 and continues to our short time on the planet. But sandwiched between the Celestia chapter and the Cascades chapter is this pretty brief moment in time when everything's going apeshit. And that's been our target of the class the whole quarter. We're finally there. Okay. I think I just want to do a little lightning round with you. I can't thank you enough for what we've got I'm receiving from you today. Let's do a lightning round. It's been a while since we've done this. Big and small thoughts related to the Chumstick Formation 2021, Aaron Donaghy's paper. Let's go. Megan.
Well, so in one of her figures, number 3, she talks about rare sandstone, but I couldn't find another reference to it. What is the rare sandstone she's talking about?
I don't know. So Megan says, on page 3, Aaron's talking about a figure 3. Aaron's talking about a rare sandstone. So first of all, you have our 6 handouts today, a few of which we'll use today, a few we'll save for Thursday. And she's from the king of the bold colors, Michael Eddy, so she's a bold color gal herself. So the Chumstick Basin, out of all these colors, is this little pale thing in here. And the other map you have, if you haven't figured it out, I'm sure you all have, is just an enlarged version of the Chumstick. I got to pass on that one, Megan. Maybe we'll circle back. I don't know about the rare sandstone. Lightning round. I'm just going to repeat and we'll just move on. We're not even going to follow through a whole lot. I just want to have everybody contribute here. Ryan.
I'm just looking at what Megan was just talking
Ryan's also looking at this figure.
I think what she's referring to is one particular section of figure 3 where it's what the caption says is stratified sandstones interbedded with massive mudstones, etc., lots of mudstone. And then the rare sandstone means that in this particular section there's a little bit of sandstone, but it's mostly mudstone.
Okay, so a section of the Chumstick that's mostly shale, but a little bit of sandstone, so therefore it's kind of a rare sandstone. We're in the weeds. Ree, you want to stay in the weeds? You want to go bigger? Go ahead. Biggest thing that caught your eye? Yep. I'm going to stop you. So Ree's reading the abstract. Remember our strategy way at the beginning of the class. We read and reread that abstract, read and reread the conclusions, spend some time with some maps and some illustrations, and then maybe if we feel excited, get down into the details of the captions or the text. So Ree's in the abstract, noticing that Aaron's talking about detrital zircons and getting some stories about regional rivers potentially. Rivers that might even, we can follow away from the Chumstick Basin, not just where the rivers are flowing within the Chumstick Basin. Let's put that on hold. More. Go ahead.
I also read that they interpreted that the Chumstick River flowed south and then turned west.
Oh, damn. So Megan says late in the paper, Aaron's following the Chumstick River. She actually coined it the Chumstick River. It's leaving central Washington. She thinks she has some data following a Chumstick River west instead of south, instead of east, instead of being connected to the Rockies, instead of being connected to the Tyee Formation in Oregon. Barely know anything about it. She's maybe following this river and connecting some dots between the Chumstick. And where's that river going? Paleo?
Paleo rivers. Sorry. So she's saying it's mixing with other paleo rivers.
mixing with other paleo rivers. It's heading to the Olympic Peninsula. It's heading back to the Blue Mountain area, and that's where she's doing her field work this summer, but we're ahead of ourselves. Ariel, more.
Part of the text talking about how there was some controversy over like when the Chumstick Array was formed, but you mentioned a part of it that her evidence shows how it was formed during a period of regional strike slip faulting that immediately followed the accretion of faults.
I want to do more with that, Ariel. Thank you. Ariel's pointing out that Aaron is saying that there's been a problem. There's been a controversy. People have been lumping the Chumstick sandbox in with the Squawk sandbox and saying it's all the same thing. And there's maybe even some reverse faults that bound the Chumstick Basin. Aaron is helping us see that it's not a reverse fault story, that the Chumstick is a self-contained story between two strike-slip faults. What are the names of the two major strike-slip faults? One fault is the Eniot fault, which we haven't talked about yet. The other one is last Thursday, Leavenworth. And I'll be drawing that in just a second. Between the two major strike-slip faults, the Leavenworth fault and the Eniot fault, we're depositing all of this sand and cobble material and even clay. But it's a self-contained story. That is a major departure from what's been done earlier. More. Who haven't we heard from yet? Rachel.
There are distinct regional differences in magmatic.
Are you playing with me now?
Common and hot. Metamorphic grade and rock composition that can be linked to sediment provenance, which is important to show the change throughout the basin evolution.
Okay. So Rachel's kind of playing with me, but kind of not. The playing is she's mentioning the word magma again. She just can't wait. But look at this map. It's her first major map. And again, this little sliver, the width of my finger, is the Chumstick Basin, the topic of her paper. So first message, look at all of the bedrock. This isn't Indiana. She's living in Indiana now. You can follow these Ordovician limestones across the entire frickin' state. Look at the complicated bedrock geology, many of them originally Mexican stuff, if you're a Baja BC person. Many of these are individual plutons, all predating the Cretaceous, predating the Chumstick, many of them Cretaceous in age. And so at first glance, you're like, oh my God, what a nightmare. Look at all this stuff that I have to learn. But in the case of Erin's work, she says, this is help. She's not saying it this way in the paper, but I'm going to paraphrase. And she's here with us live, by the way. So if you really screw up her paper, she'll slam you in the live comments. Just kidding. She says, I can look very carefully at what kind of rocks are in the cobbles, let's say. I can do a pebble count in a conglomerate unit. And because there's such incredible variety and such distinctive bedrock changing almost every 10 miles, there's a new bedrock type, both to the north, to the west. I can figure out where these rivers are coming from. I can figure out from which side of this sandbox the rivers are coming from, where the sediment is coming from, including magmas, Rachel. Good. More. Colton.
So between about 49 and 48.5 billion years, the sedimentation rate in the Chumstick Basin subbasin was like 6 to 7 millimeters per year.
Let me stop you. So Colton's into the stratigraphy that Aaron's laying out for us. And early in the Chumstick, between 49 and
49.3 and 48.5.
49.3 and 48.5 million years ago, there's a pretty fast sedimentation rate of
Medium to fine grain material.
medium to fine grain material. And what is the rate per year?
6 to 7.
6 to 7 millimeters
A year.
of year. Instead of drop, what is that? Are we dropping the basin? What does that mean, sedimentation rate? 6 millimeters per year.
I think it could be like water flow, like
Water
by
flow.
water, but that's not according to the case here.
I'm not being a smartass. When I'm really starting to think about it now, I don't really know what that means.
I really only focus on the point that she also points out in the figure adjacent to it.
Yeah.
That it says from 48.5 to 46.5 million years, so
Yeah.
about 2 million year stretch.
Right?
The sedimentation rate changes to 2 to 3 millimeters per year of more coarse grained material.
Okay, Colton, thank you. So Colton's looking at the details and the changing sedimentation rates within this sandbox. Mike Eddy was doing that in the last paper too, in the SWAC, you remember? He had those crazy graphs where he had steep curves in this graph saying that the sedimentation rate was very fast or high, and then it slows, so he had a different slope to his line. But I'm honestly right here in real time trying to picture out what or burying. You can't bury. Never been afraid to make a fool of myself in front of a live crowd. What does that mean? 6 millimeters per year. What are we measuring that's 6 millimeters per year? The basin dropping? Tim?
So that's, maybe I'm tying in with this.
Go ahead.
If anyone's in structure, the structure as well during this class.
Is anyone in structure right now?
We're also learning about strike slip faulting.
Strike slip faulting in structure.
We talked about strike slip basin.
Yeah.
So that's what we get here. And
Right.
this, what's the word I'm looking for?
Subsidence?
Yeah.
Sinking.
So yeah, I see your point of saying like, if this was a not moving, if this was a stationary bottom.
Right.
We could interpret that as just sediment slowly building up. But in this case, we do have this subsidence happening during this transtension time period.
So that is exactly what we're describing. When we talk about a sedimentation rate, we're talking about how much the floor has to be dropping per year. We're dropping the floor of this room 6 millimeters per year to give us space to bring in this sand. Aaron, help us. Aaron, Grobens and half Grobens, she's live. Grobens and half Grobens are usually bounded by normal faults and more dip slip motion. Pull apart are a type of strike. Oh, she's responding to somebody. Andrew, save us.
I don't know if I can do that. Figure 7 kind of shows how.
Figure 7.
Open, it looks like from south to north, like this space involved.
Yep.
That kind of shows that it is indeed like subsiding, like you said, not just strike slip, but opening where.
Yeah, so figure 7. Most of the students have their laptops open and they're not chatting with their mother. They're actually looking at the paper. I'm confident of that. And so this is some older work by Evans, but she's using it and adding to it. And Andrew's pointing out that we have, tell us what you said again, the north part is opening faster than the south part or something.
In A there.
In A,
Left,
yeah.
it shows the oldest part, deposition was in the south.
The oldest is, the south is receiving sediment first.
Correct. And then as the basin evolves.
Yes.
It's filling in.
As the basin evolves, it's filling in further to the north, and then late in the game, we form the Eagle Creek Fault, and we're getting
And then you get.
just a
It looks like folding,
folding.
and then, so that would be the.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're headed on Thursday, because I still don't have that pictured well in my mind. This is Erin's thesis, by the way, also on the Chumstick when she was a student at Northern Arizona University. So she's been at this a while. She was starting her field work in the Chumstick back in 2013. So, I mean, come on. She's a pro at this. And really, Erin has left the Chumstick mostly. You remember, she's the gal that's now out Blue Mountain Unit and trying to go up to Alaska. Same gal, remember? Talking about the potential sediments that are shared between Celestia and Yakutat. But in a way, she's not leaving the Chumstick because it's that same time window. This is all sedimentation post-Celestia accretion. And so she can use her skill and just solve crimes further afield than between Wenatchee and Leavenworth. Colton wants to say something else.
I was just going to read off what Aaron just replied.
Oh, you're reading Aaron's live comments. Good.
It says,
We're all reading your stuff now live. This is a first, Colton. Go for it. What did Aaron just say?
it says sediment accumulation rates are an estimation. Remember, we can have non-deposition and erosion, which could skew sedimentation or sediment accumulation rate.
Sediment accumulation rates are an estimation. Remember, we can have non-deposition and erosion, which could skew the sediment accumulation rate. This is fun. This is fun. I'm having a great time. Are you? Don't answer that. Ryan?
So I'm still a little lost on this sediment accumulation.
It's a mistake on my part to get hung up on the sedimentation rate, so it's okay if you're lost.
No, I think it's, what I'm trying to understand is, so the sedimentation rate is dropping from about 6 millimeters a year to what, 2 to 3?
The sedimentation rate is getting smaller as we get younger.
But the basin is still itself getting deeper.
The basin's still getting deeper, but I guess I'll get corrected in live comments, I'm guessing the floor is, I visualize it as a fun house and the floor is dropping. And it's a question of, are we dropping the floor fast? If we are, these rivers are bringing all sorts of sediment in. And early in the game of the Chumstick, I haven't even written out the stratigraphy yet. That was my plan, but maybe you have it in front of you. I don't know. But as the sedimentation rate slows, I visualize the floor still dropping, but not as fast.
So is there anything in the paper, because I haven't seen anything like
Yep.
that, where they hypothesize if it's, is that due to the river changing its course slightly? And so, because if the basin's dropping and the river's still in like relatively the same spot, you assume that there'd be more sedimentation? Or maybe, no?
It's the opposite. I think it's a gradient thing. But again, I think we're deeper than we need to be at the moment. Remember, what we were just talking about was transtension versus transpression. So during this time of opening the crust up, and so I'll do it with my hands. We can all visualize a graben. We just pull the crust apart and a bunch of sediment fills the valley. But this is a pull-apart basin where we are also strike-slip faulting. A minimum of 30 kilometers. Transtension. So we're opening a grave, we're digging a grave. Rhiannon. Effects, oh boy, okay. Velocity of the water.
So if it's going faster than the sedimentation rate, and the velocity from the sediment.
Yeah.
It's going too fast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's depending on like how many are opening. how
You got it. You got it. Yeah, I've steered us toward a dead end. It's not. We're not leading to a major point of the paper, I don't think. Even though the sedimentation rate, the main message, if I've lost some of you, there's changing sedimentation rates both within the Sedimentation Basin and now this Chumstick Basin, and that helps us on Thursday realize where the uplands are, where the erosion is. We're going to get into a concept called exhumation and bringing things up a geologic elevator in the North Cascades. That's all tied to this. But I think I want to redirect.
Mine's not sediment related.
Megan?
Okay, so I read in here, she said that a restoration of 30 kilometers.
Restoration of 30 kilometers of offset
Along the Leavenworth Fault.
along the Leavenworth Fault.
Mount Stewart batholith adjacent to boulders,
Oh, God bless you.
at Double Gulch and.
Yep.
Hills Cedar.
Yep. Thank you. That's how we're quitting, because I got to go to my other caulking gun. How did you know that? You didn't know that, but it worked. Thank you. Why did I bring in another caulking gun? I have a gimmicky prop to maybe help visualize the coal car disaster that I tried last time. Do you remember it? So Megan steered us back. And I'll give this to you verbally, and then we'll draw it out on Thursday. One of the new things that Aaron is helping us see is that the Clark Canyon member, which is a majority of the Chumstick, is coeval with the Tumwater Mountain member. Clark Canyon, Tumwater, same age range, even though they tell different stories. It's not going to make sense, but I want to focus on the Tumwater member before we quit. Those were the fanglomerates. Megan got us there. You remember the big old Mount Stewart boulders being deposited in a fan. It's not an alluvial fan of rivers, it's an alluvial fan of these bowling balls or these watermelons made out of Mount Stewart granite. So this is the Leavenworth Fault. This is the Eniot Fault. Yes, there's some jogs and jags to them, but let's just do this. Eniot, Leavenworth. I made the point last time, these things almost certainly project underneath the German chocolate cake. How major are these faults? How much more offset would we have if we didn't have these flood basalts burying? But the point is, south of Wenatchee, do you remember now? Alluvial fan in the north side of the Leavenworth Fault. This is the Tumwater Mountain member. And there's a whole bunch of these Tumwater member alluvial fans that are shingled. They get younger as we go. Here's one more piece of evidence to prove that we know when the Leavenworth Fault began and where the Leavenworth Fault stopped. I don't know if anybody's got the dates. What? Anybody got the date for the initiation of the Chumstick Formation? What's the oldest depositional age for the Chumstick in that paper? Huh? 49.22, I think. And that, in part, comes from the age of this oldest fanglomerate. What's the age of the end or the youngest side of the canyon, the Clark Canyon Formation? I got it somewhere. 46.5. I got to use my prop before we quit. I'm out of time. Give me 2 minutes. So these piles of watermelons, each watermelon is Mount Stewart granite, came from Mount Stewart through a narrow chute. In Mount Stewart today, the Mount Stewart batholith is right up here. But this is 30 kilometers of offset. And so my analogy, we're not going to shoot the Straight Creek Fault of Chilliwack batholith magma. Hell no. We got another cock and gun that shoots Mount Stewart bowling balls. 49.2 million years ago. Mount Stewart granite is right here. Here's the length of the narrow stream canyon. Different sound. We're not caulking Chilliwack batholith. We're 49.22. Somebody's walking by the classroom now. They're like, "What the hell is going on?" I'm moving. I'm going to make one fanglomerate at a time, baby. One fanglomerate at a time. It's all Mount Stewart granite. We're piling it up. And by using this, which is being deposited at the same time as the Clark Canyon member being deposited by rivers in the middle of the basin, we can get an age on the offset on the Leavenworth Fault. Well, that was all over the place. We'll pick up the pieces on Thursday. I love the energy today. I won't say the other things I said earlier. Thank you. I love you and goodbye. Goodbye, Hayden. He pops up first. Out of here he goes. If you want to look at these posters a little more carefully, Mount Stewart granite right there, baby. Pa 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 pa. The Tommy gun. Apparently I'm in love with myself a little too much. Give me a second to visit with the students, please, and then we will do some live Q&A. I'm sure you must have some after this session. Thank you. And thanks to Aaron for being with us today again, as always. Okay, so that website works.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So the email, what were you saying about the email?
You can...
Because I took a screenshot.
You can get them for free. You can, if you email this.
I'm wearing a Bernie sweater. Of course I love shit for free.
email.
Oh, wow. This is a no politics zone.
Wait, don't walk away before you.
Don't walk away.
Yeah, wait, before.
I'm
Okay.
not
You
wearing
want some free posters, you
Yeah.
email this and say, give me 700 posters and they'll send them to you.
I was curious, are these from that Washington 100?
Yes.
How do you get those posters? You just
That email right there.
Do I really tell him 700?
No. No, 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 no.
Machine Gun Zentner, dude.
Machine guns in.
You gonna drive 3 hours? What you got, Emma?
I'm going home to run a race.
Oh, you started the bingo game. We're starting a drinking game based off your
Yeah.
lectures, Nick.
You're starting a drinking game
Yeah,
based
like-
off of my lectures.
Yeah. If you say like, "Hey, Pat," or "Sorry, Patrick."
Ned
or,
Zinger bingo.
Yeah.
We could do this to study for.
Energy is good. Gotta love it. Daddy, slow down. Motherfucking Celestia. Sorry, Patrick. Magic window. Comment about Bryce.
Oh, yes.
Ignores Ryan's questions. Oh, that's a double word score on that motherfucker.
Wait, I gotta see this.
It's in progress. It's a work in progress.
It's a
Oh, God.
I'm not a prop guy.
Oh, Lord.
I'm not a prop guy.
Oh. Oh, it has begun. They've turned on me. Sorry, Patrick.
On how the thing is.
Yep.
So
He has a query.
a query.
You have a query.
Whatever the fuck you call it, okay. So for the whole matter of the spreading ridge going south and then all of a sudden going back up north,
Yeah.
it's the whole going back up north thing that I'm getting caught up on.
Okay.
So I need paper, but if you so
Uh-huh.
we have so if we have the spreading thingamajig going
Right.
along, how does it go?
We're going to continue to think about it, by the way, because obviously I don't have it in my head yet.
Yeah, it's
If we're going like this,
Uh-huh.
but so
Oh, yeah. But,
shoot, it's backwards. I
It's
just
okay.
realized my idea is not going to work now.
okay.
So I was thinking like if it's subducting, this spreading ridge,
Right.
so it's going up and up and up, but then all of a sudden we jump to this spreading ridge.
The jumping is I
then
think,
it
a
would
real
jump down.
thing. Yeah. It's worth, I need to decide how much we want to try to contemplate that with this class. But many of these models are incorporating this jump because of this transform offset. on
Okay,
these things.
that
And it
makes
can
more
help
sense to me
solve
now.
some problems.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, your first glance is this guy seriously saying this thing's migrating to the south and then it's just turning around?
Yeah,
like
because it doesn't make sense to me
right.
saying that.
So it can help if you do a jump,
Right.
but that probably still doesn't totally explain why you'd need to switch. But he's saying,
Is the
how do you explain these strike slip faults without,
Right.
is
you
the
know?
Kula plate still there when it starts going back north?
It is, but that the Kula is always on the north side. That's, we keep that Kula on the north side. And we know because of the birth of the Cascades that we need the Farallon offshore.
Right.
But eventually we're going to lose the Kula completely because this spreading ridge continues to drift north. And then here's the mysterious part for me completely. It gets stolen by the Pacific Plate, which I don't understand, but that's the going.
like subducted under or something.
Like,
It just
like
disappears?
there's you somehow, well, the live people are listening to us right now. They maybe have it better visualized than we do right now, but you somehow drift over the last part of an active spreading ridge, and then suddenly this slab that doesn't have anybody making it anymore gets adopted by another plate.
Okay.
It's like a piracy thing
So
almost.
kind of just like almost like it absorbed it.
Well, yeah, I guess
Okay.
like adopted, but I've never seen a convincing visual that works with all these scenarios we're talking about. I don't think it exists, to be honest. Yep, I got to go to these guys. Thanks for your energy. I need to come up with a different phrase. Oh boy. Love today. I just loved the group today. And that usually means I get off script pretty quickly because I can feel that I can go anywhere I want pretty much because I know that they'll have. I love you too, Bryce. Don't you ever forget that now. Uppercase, let's do some live Q&A. The room is empty. Sorry, I missed your question. Let me just go back. Hang on, that's not very fair of me. The first uppercase I see says, Sauber, what is the length of the Mount Stewart boulders along the fault? Oh, I guess it's 30 kilometers, since this distance between the Tommy gun starting and the Tommy gun ending is 30 kilometers, and that's the offset that we have. Makes you wonder, doesn't it, Sauber, if there's another 30 kilometers of fanglomerate beneath the Columbia basalts? Interesting thought, I think. The device 9, who does the migrating? Does America jog north or the Kula Junction jog south? I don't know, and I was just chatting, I think you heard me, with Colton and the Holy Trinity. In general, a few sessions back, we were talking about basically North America drifting southwest and encroaching onto this spreading ridge story. And I guess that's all I can do mentally, is to have North America drifting over this stationary spreading ridge. But if there's a bunch of jogs, as you say, because the spreading ridge is offset, do I still have that? Like, as Colton was just saying, and Luke said last week a little bit, if this is sweeping over these jogs, then you can jump a triple junction pretty quickly. And maybe you can jump it northward again if you have a different set of jogs. But you're probably ahead of me on all that. I can't do it yet. And my instinct, just as a teacher, when we get into too many of this, kind of too much of this arm waving, what if, and that's where most people like to go, I just say, I got to take a break. I got to go back to what evidence do we have? And what are the dates again that we have? And if nothing else, it just helps me clear my head and get back to some knowns. Because, I lose interest. Speaking of losing interest, I lose interest if we're out here in Never Land for hours and hours. Yes, Chris, and everybody talks about the Garlock Fault and that it's left lateral and it's sinistral. That's right. Okay, I don't see how that. Yeah. I'm way back now, but I'm trying to get as many of these questions as I can without attitude. If you have a question, please type uppercase. And if you don't have a question, keep it in lowercase, please. David, is there a guess on how old the Leavenworth Fault is under the cake and how far southeast does it go? I don't think there's much there, but let me read you I don't know, I was going to do some of this in class, but just reading an email kind of tough with the group. But in this setting, maybe this will work. I've got 4 different emails from Erin, and she's like immediate with her replies. I'm getting spoiled. I'm going to try not to abuse my relationship with you, Erin. But so I emailed her this morning saying, basically, I'm running out of time, and do you have some dates on these faults? And I don't think I'll use some of this on Thursday, so let me read it to you. You might find it interesting. The Eniot Fault. Oh. Aaron, I assume you're okay with me reading this since you were trying to help me with this lecture. The Eniot Fault. This is the longest-lived strike-slip fault in the Chumstick area, and it's previously suggested that it had at least 3 episodes of right lateral strike-slip motion. The Eniot is a very linear feature that extends 150 kilometers in length. Initial movement is thought to have been to help form the basin that the protolith of the Swakane gneiss is deposited in during the late Cretaceous. we think possibly 5 to 10 kilometers of offset took place. It's more difficult to determine the amount of offset on the Eniot in total because there's no piercing points. As you can see, the Eniot Pluton and Swakane gneiss extend along the fault for long distances. So if you look at the bedrock geology on either side, if you just look at the Eniot, you can see, first of all, how obvious it is. Look at that thing. But it's hard to find a good piercing point on opposite, to match up things on opposite sides of the fault. So I don't know, is there like this Dinkelman de Calmont, like way the hell underneath Walla Walla or something? The Leavenworth Fault is 80 to 100 kilometers long, and there are possibly 3 episodes of movement during the Paleogene. Previous, and I touched on this a little bit, previous research wanted the Leavenworth Fault to be west side down during deposition of the Schwalk and east side down during deposition of the Chumstick, so there's a switch in motion. But I would argue that the Leavenworth Fault zone becomes a dextral slike slip, right lateral, and there's a transtension between the Leavenworth Fault and the Eniot Fault that transtension forms a pull-apart Chumstick Basin. The Eagle Creek Fault, which is a smaller fault in between the 2 major strike slip faults, also has some history. Okay, I don't know if that was worth it. I also asked Erin about the tuffs that we'll talk about on Thursday. She's got some juicy detail there. And then I asked her for comments on the Ralph Hagerud video from the field. She enjoyed it, but she had a couple of clarifications there too. So wonderful to have Erin with us. Thanks again, Erin. Still don't know where I am in the questions. Would the resurrection plate reconcile Eddie's idea with Baja, BC? Thanks, Neil. I don't think it's a secret. Eddie's not sure that the resurrection plate existed. And I don't know where Mike stands on Baja, BC, but I'm guessing that he prefers to stay in this time window where he knows most of these relationships. I think in his email, which I have here, it's like one of the best emails I've ever received before Christmas, explaining his whole set of logic with this triple junction migration. He basically says, I prefer to stay between 60 and 40 where we have lots of good field data to work out the timing of all this stuff. And he prefers not to go back 80, 100, 150 million years ago because there's just less bedrock to work with. I think I'm characterizing that properly. Joe Slick, automatic scroll. Damn, why did it? I'm sorry, I can't find your. Sanford, the faults go dormant at 35 million years ago. What occurs at the end of the fault movement? What occurs at the end of the fault movement? Well, it's the way I'm drawing it. And I don't know if this has all been figured out. These Leavenworth Fault actually merges into the Eniot Fault. And that in turn either merges in or is truncated by. I mean, I don't really know if that's been worked out. Were these faults parallel to each other and active independent? And then is there some reason for them to join up and then there's more offset along a different structure? I don't know how important it is for our discussion here, but you're looking for a relationship that I don't think I know. But faults never just stop like this. I don't mean to draw it like that and just say that nothing's happening on the other side. Neil again, what's happening with Celestia during the Straight Creek Fault timeline? Celestia has accreted, and the timing of accretion of Celestia has begun all of this strike slip fault behavior. So there's no activity with Celestia during the Straight Creek Fault time. Beyond that, I'm not sure how to comment. Chris, how much do the right lateral faults relate to the clockwise rotation? I love what you guys are doing, and a theme from last time is we're just trying to focus on different parts of the elephant, independently. We're not trying to talk about the whole elephant. Just talking about parts, the blind man thing or whatever. So the clockwise rotation is beginning generally at the time that Celestia accretes, but we're far enough inland with this story that the clockwise rotation is not affecting this area during our time window of this discussion today, or even since then. There's not been much rotation, if at all, here, even though there's tons of rotation further out during the Crack the Whip game. Chris, does the position of the Yellowstone hotspot have an impact on the triple junction and the spreading ridge? Sure, but again, I'm trying to break things out. I find it interesting. Actually, I'm learning. I'm seeing a theme of questions every time that we meet about certain things that we've already talked about. And so part of I think your motivation is you understand the Yellowstone mantle plume, or you're going back to things that you kind of have in your head, and you think you have it figured out, and you probably do. I think your instinct is then like bring it into this discussion, but I'm pausing and trying to find the right words to say what I've tried to say all of last week as well. I just want to leave that for now. Yes, the Yellowstone mantle plume is part of this story. Yes, Celestia is part of this story, but I can't talk about all these things happening simultaneously and have it make any sense, at least for me. So if that's your motivation, then great, but I'd have you go back and look at those shows when we were talking about those concepts and not try to bring it in here, at least for now. I don't know, is the last day of class going to be taking all these things and putting them all together? I guess we're kind of trying to do that, but I don't know, maybe that's a good idea for the last day. I don't know if it'll be satisfying or possible. Mary, could migration of the triple junction be due to deeper mantle changes, perhaps slabs moving or melting? I guess that's possible, Mary, but I prefer to think of a spreading ridge as being fixed during this short window of time that we're talking about. And therefore, if there are major changes in magma supply or lower mantle, upper mantle, I don't see how those changes could be quick enough to affect our migration story, but you might be onto something there, not sure. It's so great to have you all here. I say that every time. I'm down to live. It keeps scrolling down to live. I hate that, but I'm just down to live. So if I didn't get to your question, you want to try it again, thank you. Copy and paste. Is the Chumstick formation still ongoing now? No, it's not, Michael. So I'll be a little bit more disciplined, I think, on Thursday, and we'll realize there's a very specific end to the Chumstick Basin story. And I think also on Thursday, we'll see how Aaron sees that the Roslyn Formation, which some of you know in central Washington, the famous coal beds of the mining towns of Roslyn and Cle Elum, that's a younger story than the Chumstick, and correlative with the dead horse whatever in the Chumstick, which is no longer viewed as the Chumstick. So I have to wrap this sediment stuff up on Thursday. I got to get to the magmas. Patrick, age 7, how does it work for the triple junction to be migrating south during those dates when Dr. Beck says Baja, BC was moving north during this time? It's not just Dr. Beck, Patrick. It's all the Baja BC people, as I understand it, wanting that spreading ridge to march north there's two groups of people. No, there's a group of people, Patrick, and then there's one guy over here, Mike Eddy. Maybe Mike and Aaron. It's not like they hate each other. They just view it differently. And possibly there's a way to have both of these views work together, Patrick. But you're right, Patrick. The Baja BC discussion, we had this spreading ridge down in Mexico 80 million years ago, and that spreading ridge slowly but surely migrates north all the way to the middle of British Columbia 40 million years ago, and then it kind of goes away because of the capture of the Kula Plate, whatever that means. And Mike and Aaron are saying that could very well be that the spreading ridge came from the south, but 55 million years ago, they wanted to sweep north but 55 million years ago, Mike and Aaron wanted the spreading ridge to come back south during these dates before it then continues back to the north. That's kind of where we are currently, Patrick. Thank you for the question. Ricky, plate speed changes from slab break and rotation causing the triple junction movement. We haven't broken any slabs in a while, and we're going to hold off until we get to the magmas, Ricky, so you're ahead of us there. Plate speed changes, I don't know what to say there except that there is kind of Pacific Basin mayhem roughly 50 million years ago. So if this is a weird kind of about face of the triple junction during this time window, 55 to 45, is that a coincidence that there's a change in the Hawaiian hotspot seamount chain about that time? And maybe some other things in the Pacific Basin, roughly 50 million years ago? That's also the time Celestia is accreting. Is there some sort of a Pacific Basin-wide reorganization of plate movement, plate speeds, plate sizes? Not sure. Talk about plugging into something regional. That could be where some of this discussion goes next time I try to teach it. Shouldn't it be called triple junction slip? Okay. Papagino, whole key seems to be what happened 50 million years ago to stop the westward movement of the Americas and change of direction of the emperor chain. I don't think anybody's saying the North American plate stops moving west. I don't think anybody's saying that. But I do agree that there's probably some funkiness with all of the major tectonic plates roughly 50 million years ago. Ian, does this plate oscillation, north moving, south moving, north moving, occur elsewhere on the planet? Okay, you're all kind of tapping into some potentials there. I don't know the answer. And beyond what we'll do this course, but you know how these things work. Next time I teach this, I might be talking about the Ice Age or whatever. 351 is just generically called Pacific Northwest Geology. It just happens to be whatever I'm into at the moment. I am almost certainly doing an Eocene A to Z live stream series. Not sure, but probably in the fall. And so, I don't know, maybe a couple of those sessions will be looking at the entire Pacific Basin 50 million years ago. But we're not going to do that here. A couple more and we'll quit. Frank, could the Celestia have been formed on a jog in the spreading ridge, giving a greater flow for creating the large igneous province? Evidence for new triple junctions instead of migration. The jog is appealing. for many reasons. Frank, thank you. And if you're starting to get sick of hearing about Mike, Eddie, and Aaron, or if they're starting to get embarrassed that I'm talking about them too much, it's coming to a close. But there'll be a whole new person to talk about for the remaining 2 weeks. His name is Jeff Tepper. And he has some three-dimensional tectonic models showing, what did you ask? Yeah, showing a jog and showing a break and showing a tear and generating different kinds of magmas from different depths. Some magmas related to subduction, some magmas related to slab breakoff, some magmas related and syncing with the tomography. I barely understand any of it now, especially because I haven't thought about it in a couple of years, but I'll learn what I can. And bring in more caulking guns. What? 3 more and we're done. Walt, North America is moving. Triple point is as best deflecting. Sorry, Walt, don't understand. Scrolling back. John, could the change in direction be indicative of some new rift? A new rift? We're thinking about, especially if we're breaking off a slab in the subsurface, but I think that's typically post, that slab breakage is usually viewed as post-Celestia accretion. It's a little younger than this story, I guess, but maybe it's not. John, another John, could this formation have a more conformative southern origin? The Chumstick, you mean? Conformative southern origin. I don't know what that means. Sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding some of these questions. I'm scrolling back looking for one to finish on here. I see Aaron continues to be in here answering questions. It's so fun to have you here do that, Aaron. Judy, what happens when the spreading ridge subducts? Is there something between compression and tension? Thanks, we'll finish on that, Judy. Yeah, it was, I think I might like doing this when I did it. And I don't think I'll erase this. I'll keep coming back to it. I think you're asking, is there a transition between this compression and extension? And this is not a whole lot of time, remember. We're not talking about hundreds of millions of years of duration. This is really 55 to, let's say, 40. And so as I understand it, this is a pretty quick change, especially this 49 million years ago, where this behemoth is coming in and Celestia, and we're all compressed. There's a little bit of transformer strike slip behavior, but it's a squeezing story. And then somebody flips a switch and suddenly everything starts relaxing and torquing sideways, and we get all these magmas just coming up from here all the way back to the Mount Rushmore, the Chalice magmas. So it is a freak show, and as I understand it, Judy, it's a very quick change. And if there's more of a gradual change, maybe it's at the back end of this. That's how we'll quit. A toast to you. Here's to Daniel Coe from the Washington Geological Survey, who continues to put his stamp all over Washington Geological Survey productions. I'm sure you've seen his work before. You'll see more of it down the road. Here's to you, Daniel. Here's to you and your health. I hope everything's going well in your world. And if you didn't catch us at the beginning and you'd like to order your own for free, apparently they've all been printed out and they're ready to be sent to you. Let me find that. To see the Washington 100 website, that's in black, wa100.dnr.wa.gov, that's the website. To email and ask for your copy of some of these posters, the email is in red. The email address, wa100@dnr.wa.gov. Hope I got that right from Dan's email. And the project was supposed to come out like a year ago, but then the pandemic happened, and I guess they didn't want to post all this travel stuff at a time when everybody was supposed to stay home. So it's probably not an accident that Washington 100 became public about the time that we have restricted or lifted a bunch of these restrictions that we've had across the region. Here's to them and here's to you. Okay, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to head over and scout out some field locations tomorrow, looking at the Chumstick. And I'll see you on Thursday for part 2 of the Chumstick Formation. Thank you. I love you. And goodbye.